Hewitt with that report. American actor Michael J. Fox has put a young face on a disease that mostly affects older people, Parkinson's. Now, a 30-year-old Melbourne woman is trying to raise its profile in this country, where up to 70,000 people have the disabling neurological condition. Nerissa Mapes was diagnosed with Parkinson's 2 years ago, but after the initial shock, she decided to tackle the disease head-on and set up a foundation charged with finding a cure for Parkinson's in her lifetime. And as Natasha Johnson explains, she's recruiting some high flyers to help her.
At the Elstonwick Private Hospital's physio sessions, most of the patients who have Parkinson's disease are aged in their 70s. Then there's Nerissa Mapes.
When you're balancing on the ground, it's dead easy.
Young enough to be one of their grandchildren, who was diagnosed at just 28 years old.
Good, and that's harder for you.
When I went there, it was really confronting, and I think they were wondering, what is that young girl doing here? And I was thinking, and what am I doing here?
Until she went to see a neurologist about deteriorating hand movement, Nerissa Mapes thought her life was perfect. She'd travelled widely, her career in communications at Telstra was taking off, and a new romance was unfolding.
Right, let's have a look at your hands now.
The last thing she expected was to be diagnosed with a degenerative neurological disease that robs the body of its ability to control itself, the dreadful reality of which she knew only too well.
My mind immediately went to my grandmother, because she's the only person that I could use as a reference point for Parkinson's. And she's bedridden in a nursing home and can't walk or feed herself, or barely able to talk. Probably for about a month, I would just go to sleep crying, wake up crying. I just couldn't understand. I've never really wondered why, but it was just difficult to come to terms with the impact of my life.
We were absolutely shattered that such a young, vibrant girl could have that terrible disease at her age.
Very hard thing to see my dear little daughter with this terrible thing, and I've lived a full and healthy, happy life, and she's really just starting hers. It doesn't seem fair, but life is not fair.
While Parkinson's does run in some families, a definite genetic link hasn't yet been confirmed. Despite reassurances from doctors, Nerissa Mapes' mother Pam can't help feeling somehow responsible.
My mother has Parkinson's disease, and now my daughter has. I just feel like I'm the one in the middle. I carry a lot of guilt, thinking that I could have passed this on to my daughter, because I haven't got it, but Nerissa has.
At an emotional level, Parkinson's has cut deeply, but it's the physical symptoms Nerissa Mapes notices most on a daily basis, particularly when eating or dressing.
If you put socks on your fingers and try to do up buttons, that's what I experience every morning trying to do up my shirt. Just fine motor skills and also slowness of movement, so it's kind of a bit clumsy and awkward.
But the biggest problem is that this is a disease of unknowns. No one can tell her how quickly the disease will progress and how it will affect her.
It's very difficult to say, one thing or another, because it's such an individual illness.
The fingers one after the other.
But from the point of view of longevity, that won't change. It's just that life will become more difficult.
I can't map out my journey. I can't say this is how I'll progress, which is why I think of my future as a maybe. And things that I would take for granted in life, like marriage, children, career, it's kind of not necessarily going to happen the way that I imagined.
The uncertainty could have been paralysing, but Nerissa Mapes couldn't be more sure about her plans.
And Parkinson's is no cat burglar. This doesn't happen in stealth mode. This crime is committed in full view of the world. It's not pretty to watch.
She's speaking out at fundraisers around the country to raise awareness and money, with one very clear goal in mind.
The goal is a cure in my lifetime. I've got a head start on most people with Parkinson's, so it should be a perfectly achievable goal.
To make it happen, she's launched a foundation, Perspectives on Parkinson's, or POP, and is using every contact she has, including her boss, tough-talking Telstra executive Phil Burgess. They'd never previously met, and he initially felt he didn't have time to help out, but Nerissa Mapes won him over.
And this lovely woman, starts telling me her story, and that 3 minutes turned into an hour, and that hour turned into, I think, another half hour, and when it was all over, I would do anything she asked me to do. What moved me about her when she came in is she has a clear sense of calling, and her calling has been shaped by something that happened to her called Parkinson's that she had no control over. But instead of her letting that make her a victim, she let it become her calling to find a cure.
Phil Burgess is advising Nerissa Mapes on how to grow her foundation, but reckons he gets more from the relationship than she does.
All the little things that happen to me every day or happen to people around me, you want to say, hey, buck up, you have no idea the kinds of problems you could have unless you meet my Nerissa. Then that puts everything in perspective.
I have a check here for the Howard Florey Institute.
Thank you very much.
Since her fundraising began 18 months ago, Nerissa Mapes has single-handedly raised almost $20,000 for Parkinson's Victoria and the Howard Florey Institute, which is developing groundbreaking diagnostic tests that may shed more light on the disease.
Her goal is a cure in her lifetime. Does that put the pressure on you?
Yeah, it certainly puts the pressure on, but I'm up to it. And I think actually I'm very confident that Parkinson's will be one of the diseases where we progress fastest.
Nerissa Mapes knows that finding a cure won't be easy, but with a lifetime full of dreams to realise, she feels it's worth a try.
And you can let yourself be a victim or you can let yourself be a champion. And she decided to be a champion.
Natasha Johnson with that report. You'll find an extended interview with Nerissa Mapes on our website at abc.net.au/730. To overseas now.